Have you ever wanted to be the best on all legends? Today I'm going to go over 3 very useful tips for every passive ability in Apex Legends. Let's dive into it. As you all might know, Ashe's passive will mark nearly dropped death boxes on the map, which will tell you where fighting had occurred. Now, if there was a fight outside of the ring, with some simple detective work, you can figure out where the surviving teams will rotate in. Go to that spot, set up a trap, and get free kills when they walk by. Placing a tracker on a death box to find where the killer went is a double-edged sword. Sure, you'll get to know where they are at that particular moment, but they are also alerted of your presence and, if they're smart, your position. Aggressive teams may even backtrack and try to find you instead. Consider running an Ashe on your team if you're looking for a high kill game, as her passive allows you to chase down enemies and prevent you from ever having a dull moment. Due to the nature of Bangalore's passive speeding you up, this means that you want it to trigger in order to give you an advantage before or in the middle of a fight. Double time activates when you're hit, or bullets and/or explosives barely miss you. If you feel it starting, start weaving back and forward to make yourself harder to hit. The movement speed buff from double time also stacks with movement techniques, meaning you can super glide, wall jump, and more much farther. If you see an enemy grenade on the ground, you can intentionally trigger your passive by quickly stepping near it and then obviously getting out of the way. The color of blood on tracks depends on how fresh they are. The redder they are, the more recently the enemy left the tracks there. If they're completely gray, it's been closer to a minute since somebody passed. If you ping these marks, it will trigger a voice line for your teammates with information about how long ago since the enemies were there. If you have trouble finding tracks, you can scan the general area and it will reveal all of them for you. Reinforcing a door only takes about half of a second, with a cooldown of a little less than 5 seconds. This means that if you keep holding a door when an enemy tries to break it down, you can technically replace it and keep rebuilding it over and over again for as long as they keep trying to kick it open. When deciding what position to take, you always want to make sure to take a position with doors, ideally with 2 or less doorways as well, as this allows you to reinforce all entry points into your position and keep yourself safe for longer. Always reinforce doors when rotating, even if you aren't sticking around. You never know if you'll need them later, and it only costs you half a second to do this, and it might actually screw up another team who passes by in the future. You get vision in the Nox gas, but remember that your teammates don't, so make sure to communicate all the information in the Nox gas properly. The Nox gas does not highlight other caustics. You can use this to your advantage to sneak around in the gas even from other caustics. If you're taking a fight, you can hide behind your own barrels and trigger them to give you a vision advantage against your attacker. Your Neuralink passive, which reveals enemies for you and your teammates, is active even if you aren't in your drone. As such, you can set your drone up and it will alert you if any enemy enters its range and field of view. The drone will detect enemies through most glass surfaces, which means you can place your drone on one side of a piece of glass to reveal the enemy team inside of it without giving them a chance to destroy it. When rotating, make a habit of quickly throwing out your drone and looking at or even pinging nearby banners. This will tell you how many enemy squads are within 200 meters from the crypto, so not the drone. As the Grenadier passive will speed up your throwables by 70%, this means that the frag grenades will travel further and also bounce harder. In addition to that, the grenade reticle will also show you the path of all the bounces that the grenade will do. Due to the grenade speeding up, you can't do vertical grenades like on any other legends. If you do want to skynade a position, you have to turn off your passive with the secondary tactical button. Arc stars travel so fast when launched using your passive that they're practically instant under 50 to 100 meters. As such, you don't have to lead the arc stars and you should instead aim them straight at the enemy. To ensure that the enemy will hit your gun shield and not you, try to peek angles that only reveal the top of your body, head glitches, or crouch when peeking to keep as much of your body behind some sort of cover as possible. Besides his gun shield, Gibraltar also has the fortified passive. This doesn't only mean that he takes 15% less damage from any source, but he also doesn't get slowed by bullets. This means no dead slides and allows you to run forward without getting stuck by that pesky damage slowdown. The 15% damage decrease means a fully stacked Gibraltar with a red shield has an effective health of about 258 instead of the 225 from other legends. If you then combine that with his other passive, the gun shield, which gives you an additional 50 health, one could argue Gibraltar has an effective health of over 300 health points. Because of this, depending on your playstyle, a Gibraltar should always have a sniper, shotgun, or in some very specific cases, both, as if you're trading shots with any other legend, you should always end up on top. You can use this to your advantage to get entry damage before pushing in. Horizon's passive will always convert some of your vertical momentum into horizontal momentum. So if you drop from a larger height and hit an edge, or a slight decline, this, added with your passive, will send you flying in one direction. The added airstrafe movement from Horizon's passive allows you to turn faster mid-air. You can use this to your advantage to avoid getting hit by jumping off of your gravity lift and then airstrafe right back into it. When taking a gravity cannon or using any other movement object such as a zipline, the enemies will expect you to land and stand still from fall stun once you come down. Use this to your advantage and slide or bunny hop to fly right past them and confuse them. If you pick up a golden knockdown shield after you start reviving a teammate, it will still apply the Guardian Angel effect and heal them for an additional 50 health and 50 shields. If your teammates are knocked with your attackers nearby, you starting a revive will force them to push you. You can use this to your advantage by starting a revive and then pre-aiming where they're going to be pushing from for free damage and the chance to turn the fight around. Starting a revive will cost you all of your momentum. As such, make sure to slide into it to avoid yourself from stopping. One of the main benefits from Loba's passive is spotting armors and other high tier items when taking a contest. Keep your eye out for when the items spawn in and land on top of that high tier armor to get a leg up when fighting off the other team. On certain maps, like on King's Canyon, there's high tier loot in some areas that cannot be reached by a player. You can see these through the wall as a Loba and then use your black market to grab them. Make a mental note of higher tier items in your area because if you pay attention, you might notice when an enemy is in the area as items will disappear from your view. Maggie's shotgun speed boost also affects you when you aim down sights, meaning that Maggie not only moves at a normal speed with the shotgun out, but also if she does it when aiming down sights. Thermites are a great way to prolong the wall hack effect as they keep dealing damage for a while after you hit them. Despite having the same speed with your hands and your shotgun out, you're actually better off running with your hands out when you are rotating in the open. Now, this sounds weird, so let me explain. Having a shotgun in your hands when running allows you to shoot back if you take fire. But if you're in the open and the target is far away, what are you going to do with it? Instead, by running with your hands out, you will be able to pull out your main weapon and fire back that much faster. If you get down near a cliff or the edge of a high ground, use the 5-second invisibility cloak to drop down and get more distance from your enemy. Don't use your knockdown shield when knocked in the first 5 seconds, as this will instantly give away your position. Normally, reviving a teammate will give away your position and you will get caught by any decent players, but if there is a lot of action going on and they aren't able to keep their full focus on you, you can get away with riskier revives that you normally wouldn't. A risky way to revive a teammate with your passive, but staying a little bit more stealthy, is by dropping your knockdown shield before reviving. This won't show a super bright knockdown shield and might throw your enemies off guard. Since the revive is a tap ability, this means you don't need to hold the button and can instead use your free finger to look around, move around, and even move your energy shield around to give you additional cover. Make sure to ask your teammates to give you the best knockdown shield possible, and if you don't trust them, just occasionally glance at their inventory through the inventory screen to make sure that they aren't hogging a better one. Your passive acts as a great tool for you and your team's item economy. For example, you don't have to carry syringes and can decide to give those to your teammates instead. Octane is one of the few legends that benefit from a gold armor, as the double healing allows you to drop your medkits and only carry syringes instead, and let your passive heal up the rest. Always be the one who steps into the zone to pick up an item or something else, as you can passively heal up your health with your passive once you return. Did you really think I had tips for this excuse of a passive? Everyone knows that Rampart's passive speeds up her reload speed and magazine size, but not many know that this also applies to the L-Star, specifically through allowing you to shoot for longer and lowering the cooldown time by half a second. Not only that, but Rampart has a hidden passive that allows her to reload Sheila 10% faster than anyone else. Now, it's up to you whether you do want to run an LMG as Rampart or not, but I would suggest any other weapon, as sure, you get a large magazine size, but all LMGs just slow you down and have inferior damage per second to almost any other gun in the game. So if you're taking a trade, you're doing yourself a disservice. As moving around when crouching is faster and makes your hitbox smaller, it is in your best interest to either hold crouch when strafing against an enemy in a duel, or crouch spamming to make yourself near impossible to read. And since crouching also improves your accuracy, abusing crouch basically just buffs all stats. Don't sleep on it. And less of a tip and more of a fun fact, due to how climbing is calculated, Revenant can climb shorter walls that other legends can climb 25% faster than his counterparts. In a way, Revenant actually counters Seer, as Seer's ultimate Exhibit only reveals targets that are walking, shooting, or running, but not crouching and not crouch walking. Seer's passive will play a heartbeat sound and show this visual effect when you're aiming at a target. If you aim at more than one target at a time, several heartbeats will be heard. The lower the target's health is, the faster the heartbeat. After finishing a fight, or if a fight starts to take too long, do a quick 360-degree scan around the area before deciding whether you want to commit or leave the fight. Seer benefits the most when you use him as a radar dish, as in occasionally stop in your tracks and spin in a full 360-degree circle with your passive up to make sure that nobody is watching you. If you're just starting to play Valkyrie, I would suggest turning the VTOL jets to hold instead of toggle. This makes it a lot easier to move around, spam your jets, and wall jump. Be careful when using the VTOL jets before taking a gravity cannon, as this may impact your trajectory and make you overshoot the normal gravity cannon path. In the same vein, you can also use the mid-gravity cannon if you want to stop mid-air and undershoot your target instead. When flying onto a ledge, make sure to fly so you grab onto the ledge and climb up at the very end. This stops you from doing the peace sign animation that normally will get you killed. If you want to ping an enemy, unlike with other legends, aiming at them with the spotter's lens before pinging will allow you to ping the enemy without having your aim straight on them. As soon as you see the armor display, you can ping an enemy, plus provide useful information to your team. You can't use the spotter's lens without sprinting, but this doesn't mean you can't use it when moving. Make sure to get the most out of your passive by bringing it up when ziplining, sliding down hills, or while mid-air. The bullet trajectory marker from the spotter's lens will adjust to where the latest marked enemy is. So if you aim at an enemy 200 meters away, the trajectory will only display the accurate path for a target that will be 200 meters away. Not farther, not closer. Since Watson can stack 2 ultimate accelerants in the same slot, you want to make sure to carry at least 1 stack of ultimate accelerants at a time. This comes especially in handy in the final rings of the circle, where the pressure might be so high that you need to instantly ultimate accelerant after placing your ultimate to ensure that you have it should a team break your pylon and push in. The slow passive heal to Watson's shields heals at 1 shield per 2 seconds. As such, if you're holding a position and you want to save up on shield heals, take a broken armor and chill in a corner while it charges up. This also applies to your teammate's shield, and you can also use this to mend your teammate's shields. Due to the stacking, when looting from Loba's Black Market Boutique, Watson will pick up 2 ultimate accelerants instead of 1. Wraith's passive, Hindsight of the Void, rarely works when you need it, and as such should never be relied on. That's a tip. But if you want free tips for every tactical, make sure to check out the video on the screen. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.